Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we get into tonight's game, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have extra cards lying around that you don't use? Want to buy or trade for some extra cards but don't know how to maximize the value? Then you should try out today's sponsor, Card Conduit. Card Conduit is the best service when it comes to selling your extra cards. Don't waste hours trying to find the best buy list price for your cards online. Simply send them to Card Conduit and let them take care of the rest. I have used Card Conduit multiple times already. I always use them to get the best value for my extra cards. I get fair prices for my cards and they save me tons of time. They have three main services. Their standard service lets you send them your unsorted cards of any value. They will sort, grade, and give you the best price for your cards. Their curated service is similar. Send them your unsorted cards worth over $1 in value. They will charge half the fee of the standard service and charge no fee per card. Their sorted service is a great value as well. Choose cards in advance with their selection tool, send them sorted to Card Conduit, and they will grade and buy list them automatically. Save yourself the time of having to send to multiple sites and let Card Conduit do it instead. Their fee is only 2% with no fee per card. They give you the best price for your cards. They work with competitive buy listing partners, including ones not open to the public. Users get an average of 19% more for their collection than they would from any major retail buy list, even with Card Conduit's fees. Card Conduit also optimizes buy listing for card condition as well. Since vendors have different penalties for wear and tear, Card Conduit will find the best buy list priced against the specific condition of the card. So give Card Conduit a try today. If you sign up with my link in the description below or use the promo code POWER, you will also get 10% off of their fees when you use their service. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Cal, piloting Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. This is a 5-color good stuff deck that uses Sisay's ability to power out a win. Cal's opening hand contains a Noble Hierarch, Fiend Artisan, Elves of Deep Shadow, Drannith Magistrate, Lurrus of the Dream Den, Windswept Teeth, and a Demonic Consultation. Next, we have Alex, piloting Obeka, Brute Chronologist. This Grixis deck seeks to use its commander to take infinite turns. Alex's opening hand contains a Brainstorm, Gamble, Gemstone Caverns, Vampiric Tutor, Dispel, Demonic Tutor, and a Mystic Remora. After that, we have Ashani, piloting the Gitrog monster. This combo deck uses Gitrog, a discard outlet, and Dakmor Salvage to dredge through the deck to find a win. Ashani's opening hand contains a Deathrite Shaman, Grim Monolith, Prismatic Vista, Mana Crypt, Finehorn Elves, Gemstone Caverns, and an Infernal Grasp. Finally, we have Drake, piloting Tatyova, Benthic Druid. This is a Simic landfall deck that seeks to gain card advantage with its commander and chain extra turn spells using Mystic Sanctuary. Drake's opening hand contains a Gilded Drake, Flusterstorm, Mystic Remora, 2 islands, Breeding Pool, and a Field of the Dead. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to see more content. Also, be sure to follow us on social media wherever you scroll while you're on the toilet. Without further ado, let's kick off this voracious visage of valorous Voldubians. Cal bet over on the Colts this season and gets to start us off. But Alex and Ashani both have pre-game actions. Alex puts Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling Brainstorm. Ashani puts Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling Finehorn Elves. Cal draws and plays a Marsh Flats. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Bayou onto the battlefield. He casts a Birds of Paradise and passes the turn. At the end of Cal's turn, Alex casts a turn 0 Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. He moves to his turn. Alex draws and casts a Mana Crypt. He casts a Mystic Remora. Remora resolves and he gives the turn to Ashani. Ashani draws and plays a Prismatic Vista. He casts a Deathrite Shaman. He casts a Mana Crypt. Remora triggers and Alex draws. Ashani casts a Grim Monolith and Alex draws again. He ships the turn to Drake. Drake draws and plays an island. He casts a Lotus Petal and Alex draws through Remora. With Alex drawing so many cards, Drake tries to get in on the action by casting his own Mystic Remora. Alex's Remora triggers and he draws. Unfortunately for the table, Remora resolves. Drake passes the turn. Cal draws and casts a Drannith Magistrate. He gives the turn to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex wins his Mana Crypt roll and pays for his Mystic Remora. He draws and plays a Forbidden Orchard. He casts a Talisman of Dominance and Drake draws through Remora. He casts a Chrome Mox imprinting Phantasmal Image and Drake draws again. Alex taps his Talisman of Dominance to help cast Demonic Tutor. Remora triggers and Drake draws. In response, Drake casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost targeting Demonic Tutor. Remora triggers and Alex draws. With no answer, Mindbreak Trap exiles Demonic Tutor and Alex ships the turn to Ashani. During his upkeep, Ashani loses his Mana Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws, takes no actions, and passes the turn to Drake. During his upkeep, Drake pays for his Mystic Remora. He draws, plays a Wooded Foothills, and ends his turn. Cal draws and moves to combat. He attacks Alex with Drannith. Alex takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Cal plays around the Remoras by casting Noble Hierarch. He casts an Elves of Deep Shadow. He gives the turn to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex wins his mana crypt roll and pays for his Mystic Remora. He draws and plays a Morphic Pool. He casts a Wishclaw Talisman. Drake's Remora triggers, and in response, Drake cracks his Wooded Foothills, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. Drake draws from Remora, and then Wishclaw Talisman resolves. Alex bides his time and passes the turn. During his upkeep, Ashani loses his mana crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws, plays a Wooded Foothills, and ships the turn to Drake. During his upkeep, Drake pays for his Mystic Remora. He draws, casts a Chrome Mox, and Alex draws through Remora. Chrome Mox resolves, and Drake imprints Time Twister. He gives the turn to Cal. Cal draws and casts his commander, Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. He passes the turn to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex wins his mana control and then lets his Remora die. He draws and casts Gamble. Remora triggers and Drake draws. Alex fetches up a card into his hand and then randomly discards a Cyclonic Rift. He taps Forbidden Orchard, giving Drake a spirit to help cast Dockside Extortionist. Dockside enters and Alex creates 5 treasures. He casts a Windfall and Drake draws through Remora. In response, Ashani casts Infernal Grasp, targeting Drenith, and Drake draws through Remora again. Grasp resolves, Drenith is destroyed, and Ashani loses 2 life. In response to Windfall, Drake casts Flusterstorm, with all copies targeting Windfall. In response, Alex activates his Wishclaw Talisman. He fetches up a card into his hand and then gives the Wishclaw to Cal. Then Flusterstorm resolves, countering Windfall. Next, Alex casts Underworld Breach. Remora triggers and Drake draws. Unfortunately for the table, they spent their interaction, so Breach resolves. He escapes a gamble. Remora triggers and Drake draws again. Alex fetches up a card into his hand, and with a 1 in 3 chance, he randomly discards Brain Freeze. Alex doesn't have enough cards to escape Brain Freeze, and Alex regrets letting Ashani be the one to roll. He moves to his end step, sacrifices Underworld Breach, and ships the turn to Ashani. During his upkeep, Ashani loses his mana crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws and activates Deathrite Shaman, exiling Cal's Marsh Flats to help cast his commander, the Gitrog monster. He pays a life and cracks his Wooded Foothills. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He fetches up a Bayou onto the battlefield. He casts Summoner's Pact and Drake draws through Remora. Ashani fetches up a Noose Constrictor into his hand. He casts Noose Constrictor. With a discard outlet and Gitrog in play, things just got serious. He activates Constrictor, discarding Phyrexian Tower. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He activates Constrictor again, discarding a swamp, and he draws through Gitrog. He plays a Bazaar of Baghdad. He activates Bazaar, drawing 2 cards and discarding Abrupt Decay, Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, and Elves of Deep Shadow. Ulamog triggers and Ashani shuffles his graveyard into his library. He pays a life and cracks Prismatic Vista. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He fetches up a swamp onto the battlefield. He plays a Gaia's Cradle as his Gitrog land for turn. With nothing else, and all out of gas, he ends his turn. During his upkeep, Drake lets his Remora die. He draws and casts Exploration. He plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Drake as it enters, which is so on flavor. He plays an island as his Exploration land for turn. He casts Walk the Aeons. In response, Alex casts Counterspell, countering Walk the Aeons. Drake's fun is stopped, and he passes the turn. At the end of Drake's turn, Cal casts a Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. Drake discards the hand size, and the turn moves to Cal. Cal draws and casts Dockside Extortionist. Dockside enters, and in response, Cal remembers to activate his Wishclaw Talisman. He fetches up a card into his hand and gives the Wishclaw to Drake. Then Dockside enters, and Cal creates 8 treasures. He casts Emil the Blessed. In response, Ashani tries to save the table by casting Infernal Grasp, destroying Dockside Extortionist and losing 2 life. Then Emil resolves. Cal casts a Mox Amber. Cal never didn't have it and casts Luris of the Dream Den. He recasts Dockside Extortionist from his graveyard through Luris. Dockside enters and Cal creates another 8 treasures. He presents a loop of activating Emil, flickering Dockside, and creating infinite treasures. He activates Sisay, fetching up Kinnan Bonder Prodigy onto the battlefield. He activates Sisay again, fetching up Lazav the Multifarious onto the battlefield. Lazav enters and Cal surveils Diabolic Intent into his graveyard. He presents a loop of activating Kinnan until he finds Thassa's Oracle, putting it onto the battlefield. Thassa's Oracle enters, and in response, he presents a loop of activating Emil, flickering Lazav, and surveilling his library into his graveyard. Oracle's trigger resolves, and Cal wins the game. What a fun game. Let's go again. In this game, Alex brings back Obeka, Brute Chronologist, and his opening hand contains a Talisman of Dominance, Time Twister, Mental Misstep, Spellseeker, Imperial Seal, Mana Confluence, and his London Mulligan is an Arcane Denial. Ashani brings back the Gitrog monster, and his opening hand contains a Kozilek Butcher of Truth, Birds of Paradise, Elvish Spirit Guide, Jeweled Lotus, Carpet of Flowers, Autumn's Veil, and a Swamp. Drake brings back Tatyova, Benthic Druid, and his opening hand contains a Time Twister, Flooded Strand, Homeward Path, Green Sun Zenith, Force of Vigor, ASE Tyrant of Gyre Strait, and Escape Shift. Cal brings back Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, and his opening hand contains a Relic of Legends, Dark Ritual, Plaza of Heroes, Derevi Imperial Tactician, City of Brass, and his London Mulligans are Entomb and Chromatic Orrery. And Alex gets to start us off. Alex draws and plays a Misty Rainforest. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Imperial Seal. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. He passes the turn to Ashani. Ashani draws and plays a Swamp. He exiles Elvish Spirit Guide from his hand, adding a green to help cast Carpet of Flowers. He moves to a second main phase and he adds a green through his carpet. He casts a Jeweled Lotus. He sacrifices it to help cast his commander, the Gitrog monster. He plays a Misty Rainforest as his Gitrog land for turn and then pays a life to crack it. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He fetches up a Bayou onto the battlefield. He casts up Birds of Paradise. Off to an amazing start. He ships the turn to Drake. Drake draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. He casts Green Sun Zenith where X equals 0. He fetches up a Dryad Arbor onto the battlefield, shuffling Green Suns back into his library. He gives the turn to Cal. Cal draws and plays the City of Brass. He taps it to help cast Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He casts Relic of Legends. He casts a Mystic Remora. In response, Alex pays 2 life to cast Mental Misstep, countering Remora. Cal passes the turn. Alex draws and plays a Mana Confluence. He casts a Mana Crypt. He casts a Talisman of Dominance. He ends his turn. During Ashani's upkeep, Gitrog triggers. In response, Drake casts Force of Vigor for its alternate cost, exiling a green card, destroying Carpet of Flowers and Mana Crypt. Then Ashani sacrifices a Swamp to Gitrog. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He draws for turn and plays a Bloodstained Mire. He cracks it and pays a life. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He fetches up a Snow-Covered Swamp onto the battlefield. He moves to combat and attacks Alex with Gitrog. Alex takes the hit and Ashani ships the turn to Drake. Drake draws and plays a Rejuvenating Springs. He casts a Time Twister. In response, Ashani casts Autumn's Veil. Then Time Twister resolves and each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library and draws 7. With no other actions, Drake passes the turn to Cal. Cal draws and plays a Mana Confluence. He taps the City of Brass and his Mana Confluence to help cast Derevi, Imperial Tactician. Derevi enters and he untaps Relic of Legends. He gives the turn to Alex. At the end of Cal's turn, Alex casts Brain Freeze with all copies targeting himself. Alex mills 6 and moves to his turn. Alex draws and plays a Verdant Catacombs. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Badlands onto the battlefield. He casts a Gamble. He fetches up a card into his hand and then randomly discards an Unsubstantiate. He casts a Soul Ring. He casts a Chrome Mox, imprinting Dockside Extortionist. He casts Underworld Breach. In response, Drake casts Force of Negation, exiling a blue card, countering, and exiling Underworld Breach. Alex didn't want to try and win through Breach again anyway, as he taps his Mana Confluence to hard cast Snapback, bouncing Gitrog to Ashani's hand. Alex passes. Ashani draws and plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Frog as it enters. He casts a Mana Crypt. He taps his Cavern of Souls to help cast an uncounterable Gitrog monster. He plays a Prismatic Vista as his Gitrog land for turn. He passes. Drake draws and plays a Collector Oof. In response, Cal taps his Relic of Legends, adding a black. Oof resolves, Drake moves to combat, and in response, Cal pays 4 life to cast Dismember, targeting Collector Oof. In response, Drake gives Cal the bird by casting Swan Song, countering Dismember, and Cal creating a 2/2 bird. With artifacts shut off, Drake ends his turn. At the end of Drake's turn, Ashani cracks his Prismatic Vista, paying a life. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. He fetches up a forest onto the battlefield. He casts an Assassin's Trophy, destroying Derevi. Cal regrets not running any basics, as he fails to find and moves to his turn. Cal draws and plays a Mox Amber. He plays a Gaia's Cradle. He taps the City of Brass and his Mana Confluence to help cast Faber or Elder. He gives the turn to Alex. Alex draws, takes no actions, and passes the turn to Ashani. During his upkeep, Ashani wins his Mana Crypt roll and sacrifices his Gemstone Caverns to the Gitrog monster. Gitrog triggers and Ashani draws. Ashani draws for turn and casts a Summoner's Pact. He fetches up a Wild Mongrel into his hand. He casts Wild Mongrel. It resolves, so strap yourself in. He casts an Allosaurus Shepherd. He casts Light from the Loam, returning Prismatic Vista and Gemstone Caverns from his graveyard to his hand. He plays Prismatic Vista. He cracks it and pays a life. Gitrog triggers, and Ashani dredges 3 through Light from the Loam, milling Ancient Tomb, Dark Ritual, and Cabal Pit. Gitrog triggers, and in response, Ashani activates Wild Mongrel, discarding Life from the Loam and replacing Gitrog's draw by dredging 3 through Life from the Loam. He mills Beseiju Who Endures, Oblivion Crown, and a Snow-Covered Forest. Gitrog triggers again, and in response, Ashani activates Wild Mongrel, discarding Life from the Loam and replacing Gitrog's draw by dredging 3. He mills Bazaar of Baghdad, Wishclaw Talisman, and Wooded Foothills. Gitrog triggers, and in response, Ashani activates Wild Mongrel to discard Life from the Loam, then replacing Gitrog's draw by dredging 3. He mills Diabolic Intent, Cabal Ritual, and Infernal Grasp. Still in response to his Prismatic Vista fetch, Ashani activates Wild Mongrel, discarding Life from the Loam, then activating Mongrel again, discarding Gemstone Caverns. Gitrog triggers, and Ashani dredges 3 through Life from the Loam. He mills Putrid Imp, Overgrown Tomb, and Ebony Charm. Gitrog triggers, and in response, Ashani activates Wild Mongrel, discarding Life from the Loam, and replaces the Gitrog draw by dredging 3. He mills Carpet of Flowers, Docent of the Falling Leaf, and Deadly Rollick. He then resolves his Prismatic Vista and fetches up a Swamp onto the battlefield. He casts Culling the Weak, sacrificing Birds of Paradise as an additional cost, adding 4 black. He pays 4 life to cast Dismember, destroying Collector Oof. He casts a Golgari Signet. He casts Life from the Loam, returning Wooded Foothills, Bazaar of Baghdad, and a forest from his graveyard to his hand. He activates Wild Mongrel, discarding Wooded Foothills. Gitrog triggers, and Ashani dredges 3 through Life from the Loam, milling Unmarked Grave, Felwar Stone, and Stinkweed Imp. He plays a Bazaar of Baghdad as his Gitrog land for turn. He activates Bazaar, holds priority, activates Wild Mongrel, and discards Life from the Loam. He replaces the first Bazaar draw by dredging 5 through Stinkweed Imp. He mills Urza's Saga, Gaia's Cradle, Golgari Grave Troll, Green Sun Zenith, and Emergence Zone. He replaces the second Bazaar draw by dredging 6 through Golgari Grave Troll. He mills Misty Rainforest, Squandered Resources, Deathrite Shaman, Dakmor Salvage, Exotic Orchard, and Lotus Petal. He finishes Bazaar's ability by discarding Golgari Grave Troll, Stinkweed Imp, and Dark Confidant. Gitrog triggers, and Ashani dredges 2 through Dakmor Salvage, milling Lotus Petal and Twilight Mire. Gitrog triggers, and Ashani presents a loop of using Wild Mongrel to discard Dakmor Salvage, then replacing the Gitrog draw by dredging Dakmor, milling his library, creating multiple Gitrog triggers. He repeats this process, using Kozilek Butcher of Truth to shuffle his graveyard back into his library when needed in order to draw his entire library. He then presents a loop of using Lotus Petal and Dark Ritual to create infinite mana by casting them, then shuffling them back into his library by discarding an Eldrazi Titan, then discarding a land or Dakmor to create another draw or dredge. He uses his infinite mana and infinite cycling ability to repeatedly cast Ebony Charm, draining his opponents of life, and Ashani wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing pair of games. Congrats to both Cal and Ashani on their wins tonight. In Game 1, the Remoras got fed, but randomness was king as Alex gambled away his Brain Freeze and Ashani dug for Dakmor but came up short. Then Cal had a clutch Lurrus in hand to seal his victory with Sisay. In Game 2, Ashani had an explosive start, landing his Gitrog monster on turn 1. The table tried to slow each other down with an oof and removal, but in the end it was not enough to stop the frog. Ashani found his discard outlet, Gitrog did Gitrog things, and there was nothing the table could do but sit and wait for their death. The most valuable card in tonight's game, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to Life from the Loam. The synergy this card has with the Gitrog monster is off the charts, as it is able to return lands from your graveyard to your hand and dredge cards into your graveyard. Ashani definitely showed its power, as he cast it multiple times and repeatedly used its dredge ability along with Gitrog to dig until he found Dakmor to combo off. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.